What's the most morally disgusting thing you've ever seen someone do? Not as bad as some of the other stuff here. But a friend of a family member called an ambulance for their friend who was actively dying of cancer to get her out of her house, just so her and her daughter could raid the place of all the valuables. This included her cancer pain meds, that which they sold. Once worked with a guy that was HIV positive and he would purposely date underage boys and not tell them. Luckily he was arrested one day at work. My brother stole nearly $10,000 from my parents' checking account to buy heroin while my dad was in the hospital having a stroke and we thought he might die. My dad wrote him out of his will after this. People who market false cures for serious illnesses, especially cancer. Like Belle Gibson. She can go fuck herself entirely. Worked in animal rescue welfare and encountered so many people who just had zero regard for other beings. Lots of mutilation, things like people taking their kitchen scissors to their cat's ears and paw pads, giving their dogs body piercings and tattoos, literally just cutting chunks out of their pets for no reason other than to see how far they could go. Hoarding cases are awful, but it's truly a mental illness and hoarders believe that they are helping. Backyard breeders are unethical and creating sick frankendogs. But the mutilation really sticks in my brain, because there's no explanation for it that could even pretend to pass as logical or humane. I work in a nursing home. I'd been body mapping an old lady and noticed a lot of bruises popping up with some frequency. I paid close attention to her for a while, and one day, I saw this new agency guy from Nigeria lift her arm whilst she was walking and slap the shit out of it. Never shouted at someone so fucking loud before. Reported him immediately and the bastard denied everything. No other witnesses but me, he got away with it. I work in animal rescue. I hate people most days. The abuse to animals is sickening. I can't tell you how many times I've heard it's just a dog or bird or horse. I have a cockatoo that spent 3 years in a cage, in a closet, under a blanket because she was too loud. I have dog who is terrified of boots because a man kicked her constantly. I rescued a cat who was tortured by neighborhood kids. They had duct taped firecrackers to her tail, then closed her up in a box and tossed her in the middle of the street to watch the box explode. People are cruel. A friend had told me that his great-grandma was dying of breast cancer and it was collectively decided by the entire family to let her daughter, his aunt, be in charge of her assets, retirement money, saving etc. to take care of her needs, only for the daughter to start stealing money slowly and not providing her basic needs. The family only found out what was going on when his great-grandma begged his older cousins about sending her some money for some food and toiletries. When his aunt found out, she told them. She started abusing his great-grandma and made it worse. All hell broke loose within the family, apparently. A coworker with AIDS being proud of infecting many people. According to him, he did it as a revenge plot because he was not sure who infected him. Damn asshole. My dad had cancer and passed away. Before he was unable to work, he was a mechanic and had a ton of expensive tools. While we were at his funeral, someone broke into our garage, stole the tools, and pawned them. A man posting pictures of his ex-wife and her, not his adult daughter, on dating sites using fake profiles saying they are looking for threesomes and stuff with their actual address and real phone numbers. Constantly posts on local boards where she lives calling her a slut, homewrecker, etc. This is ongoing now 2 years after she divorced him. He was the one with a girlfriend on the side. He lives with a GF now and is still doing this to his ex-wife. I feel bad for everyone involved. One time when I was just a kid, maybe 10 at oldest, I was walking to a friend's house. A dark-haired teenage girl of probably 16 or 17 was walking about 20 paces ahead of me. Along the way she met up with a blonde teenage girl. They appeared to be friends as they walked along, talking with each other. Suddenly a car pulled up and the blonde girl shoved the other girl to the ground and kicked her right in the face. Then she got in the car and they sped off. The dark-haired girl just lay on the ground, crying. I froze in place, not knowing what to do. After a few minutes, a guy on a motor scooter showed up and helped the girl up, and she got on the back of his scooter and they left. I've probably seen worse things in my life because of what I do for a living, but I'm now 47 and this has stuck with me my whole life. Worked in a really awful nursing home for a while. People stole from the elderly, neglected them, and one yelled at a woman in pain and told her she was being dramatic. I reported so many people, tried to pick up the slack, but it was impossible. I was forced to quit for my mental and physical health, and it turned me off healthcare for a long time. The place shut down within a couple months of me leaving. I saw a car deliberately swerve to hit a kitten on the side of the street. Teacher at my school left his pregnant wife for the other teacher he was having an affair with. A drunk blind man kicking his guide dog. In terms of things I've seen people do personally, I knew someone who divorced his wife because he felt she loved their child more than she loved him. I know someone that films himself pissing all over public toilets. Floor, walls, sinks, handles, toilet paper, etc. I just can't get over the mind of scammers. How do they sleep at night? Don't they feel terrible guilt tricking people out of their hard-earned money and ruining their lives? Worked at a humane society. Call came in about teenage boys that had kittens, solid black, that had been set on fire and tied to fences by their little paws. Of that litter, only one survived. Mom arrived barely alive, skin melted off, and the survivor baby of 7 had a paw amputated from the way it was zipped to a metal chain-link fence before being set ablaze with its siblings. Some so-called satanic ritual for Halloween. It was horrific. Mom died, baby was just charred black with black fur, 3 paws. I wanted to murder those little shits. Groomed his African sponsor child he and his wife put through school and university. She called them mom and dad. They brought her out to our country a few times and visited her in Kenya. They admitted the affair, then fled the state to avoid scandal, as he was a pretty high-standing doctor in one of the biggest hospitals here. They're married with a kid now. Ex-wife didn't throw him under the bus reputation-wise, but his former step-kids might. A local church England actively covering for a pedo. The whole congregation knows what he is, yet protect him to the detriment of other young girls, including daughters of some the people covering for him. It's fooked up beyond words. I had a good friend that turned out to have a fetish for home wrecking or something. Every guy she gets with is 30 years older with a wife and kids, and she will purposely find ways to destroy their families. Like getting caught with the men. I don't speak to her anymore.